Hi guys, welcome back to episode 7 of the Nifty Sensex series, and in today's video we are going to be covering 4 companies. One is Varun Beverages, Nestle, HUL, and the last one is going to be Siemens Limited. So these are the 4 companies that we are going to be doing. Okay, so the first company is Varun Beverages. Okay, so if you look at Varun Beverages, right off the bat, when you look at the result, it looks very good because sales is up by 25%, PAT is up by 25%. Now another thing, you might look at screener or income statement and you see that 40% thing, but that is like including the GST exercise that is there. But if you actually look at the sales, it is 25%. In that range it has grown. Okay, now obviously when you have such a large cap company, itna bada base hai, that growing at 25% is a really good deal. But when you go to the nitty gritty details of the company, you see where the problem lies ahead. Okay, because if you look at Varun Beverages, there are 2 divisions. One is the India division and the other one is the Africa division. Okay, India division, if you look at it, like 80% of the revenue comes from here, and यहाँ का volume growth, like if you look at the consolidated level में volume growth for the full year, that is from Jan of the starting of 2024 till December 31st of 2024, the current year में if you look at it 2024 का, the entire volume growth for consolidated including both has been around 23%, right? Again, 23% volume growth is no joke, so you might think it is good, but if you again like look into it in detail, you see that पहला चीज है कि like India का volume growth for the full year has only been 11.5%. So which means what? For the quarter that is there, the last 3 months, the volume growth must have been in around single digit, right? Like especially low single digit. That is other thing. The other is आपका Africa का business, right? Where we are seeing a lot of capex happening and all. ठीक है. अगर आप Africa का business देखते हो, even there also the volume growth is only around 6.3 to 7%. In that rate only it is there. So roughly ultimately either जहाँ पे इंडिया में है उतना कुछ वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ हो नहीं रहा है, सिमिलरली अफ्रीका बिजनेस में जहाँ पे इतना केपेक्स चल रहा है, द एंटायर, अगर आप कॉन कॉल में देखते हो, राइट, द एंटायर इंटरेस्ट इज राइट नाउ इनटू पेनिट्रेटिंग इनटू अफ्रीका. सो दिस ग्रोथ दैट इज देयर, दिस वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ दैट इज देयर, वेयर इज इट कमिंग फ्रॉम? इट इज कमिंग फ्रॉम द एक्विजिशन दे हैव डन. ओके, acquisition that they have done is like acquisition, when I tell over here, is in the South Africa region they acquired this company called as Bevco. Okay, because of which they were able to consolidate sales in lot of the regions around the surrounding regions such as Namibia, and the other regions. Tanzania may also they acquired a beverage company called as SBC Beverages. Then in Republic of Congo they're putting up a greenfield facility, right? So all of these things. Now, so earlier if you look at it, Varun Beverages, if you see, especially during that time where the product mix was happening with Sting, right, you see at that time unka organic volume growth है, that is without any acquisitions or anything, the organic volume growth is 25%. ठीक है, अभी तो उनको एक्विजिशन करने, दिस इज लाइक अ वन टाइम ग्रोथ या वन टाइम वॉल्यूम आपको मिल रहा है, राइट? बिकॉज कल जाके फ्रॉम द नेक्स्ट ईयर ऑनवर्ड्स, बिकॉज दिस एक्विजिशन हैज कम, द बेस विल गेट नॉर्मलाइज, सो यू प्रोबेबली वोंट सी दिस 20-25% का वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ आगे जाके. द प्रॉब्लम विद वारुण बेवरेजेस, द वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ हैज लिटरली फॉलन फ्रॉम दैट द हाइज ऑफ 20-25% to a single digit kind of volume growth or low double digit kind of volume growth. And the volume growth that you're seeing right now, it is purely derived from the acquisition that is coming from the अफ्रीकन बिजनेस. अगर दैट इज अ थिंग ना, पहले तो इंडिया में कुछ हो नहीं रहा है, अफ्रीकन बिजनेस में भी वही 6 to 7% का वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ ही आ रहा है. सो इन ऑर्डर टू फॉर देम टू ग्रो एट दिस 20-25% in that rate, they have to constantly do this acquisition in order to grow. Otherwise it becomes really really tough. अफ्रीका में और एक इश्यू है, especially in that Zimbabwe region where they are growing. They've implemented, the Zimbabwe government has implemented something called a sugar tax. Basically अगर आपका बेवरेज में whatever beverage cold drinks that are there, in that if let's say for this for I think 0.1 gram of sugar, they are supposed to pay like $0.01 in terms of tax, something of that sort. I could be wrong here with कितना tax pay करना है कितना gram of sugar के लिए, वो आप गूगल में देख सकते हो, but this tax has also been implemented. So again वहाँ पर right, Africa business में new government, all different governments are there, you have to appease them, and on top of that the entire geography is different over there, everything. But underlying thing is कि like volume growth गायब हो चुका है, volume growth is not there, at least what it used to be there once upon a time. ठीक है. The other 2 businesses are Nestle and और कौन सा था हमारा HUL. ठीक है. Again both of Nestle and HUL, it is similar to the last 2 companies that we did in episode 3 in episode 3 where we covered, a couple of FMCG companies. It is similar to that. The main problem over here is, the raw material ka inflation is there, and the demand is not there in both rural areas as well as urban areas, right? Because consumption story that is there, it has been slowed down. ठीक है. If you look at Nestle, यहाँ पे inflation कहाँ से आ रहा है? Because उनका जो portfolio है, if you look at it, the portfolio mainly comprises of this milk and milk products, right? Like आपका वो everyday, the milk powder that we use. So milk का भाव बढ़ गया है. So because of this, from that is where, dairy products में raw material का inflation है. And the other portfolio of Nestle is, the other part is coffee and chocolate, right? Where they have wafers such as Kit Kat and Munch. Now here, the cocoa beans ka prices has been up, and also coffee beans ka prices, which, I think for the last probably 1 year, coffee ka prices is up by 50%, and cocoa prices are probably up by 75%, right? We discussed this even in our Lotus chocolate ka video, like, ye cocoa ka itna utar chadav kyun ho raha hai yahan pe, right? So because of this raw material ke inflation ke wajah se, it is affecting them, and on top of that low consumer demand ke wajah se, you see the volume growth is, hardly in, like low single digit, right? इसलिए आप देखते हो sales भी कुछ नहीं, 4% का ही है, right? उसके बाद जब इतना छोटू सा volume growth है, there is no sales growth, आगे जाके, cash flows में क्या है, कितना distribution डाल रहा है, उस, there is no point in looking further about it when, the underlying thing, like the first thing that it needs for you to clear the checklist only is not there, ठीक है? Then the third company, HUL, similar to Nestle only, यहाँ पे flat volume growth, no sales, flat volume and everything. The only reason यहाँ पे, the reason similar to Nestle, the raw material inflation over here is, of course, यहाँ पे palm oil का, prices are up, the same thing as the other companies, raw material का inflation. Along with that, HUL का एक और चीज़ है यहाँ पे, with raw material inflation is, they did take a little bit of price hike, which has impacted a little bit of volumes. The volumes, I wouldn't say impacted, I think that's a wrong word, but the degrowth in volumes or the flat volumes is, is little bit at least offset by, little bit increase in price, you can tell, ठीक है? So that is the thing, दोनों को base इतना बड़ा है, there in every nook and corner of the country कि like क्या आप कितना ही growth मार सकते हो इस base में, right? So that is the thing. The last company that we will be doing is Siemens India, ठीक है? Now अगर आप Siemens का देखते हो, right, it is a very complicated business model, ठीक है? एक तो ये है, but in a very short line, if I have to tell you, Siemens is a technological company, okay? It is a pure technology based company that is working in various areas such as आपका railway systems में, aerospace systems में, pharma division में, chemical division में, and everything, ठीक है? Like for example, if you have to be in a pharma का division, right? You would have seen, right? There is a QR code these days, या आपका manufacturing का एक code है, right? Now let's say if I buy that and if I scan that manufacturing code, or let's say if anybody scans it, they should know exactly कि like, ये कब बना था, from that manufacturing का एक barcode or that QR code, they should be able to understand कि like, ये in which plant it was done, where it was manufactured, what was the supply chain it route it took, all of these things, like now you know, right, in the entire supply chain and all, यहाँ पे technological transformation हो रहा है. So this is, I am giving you an example over here कि like what exactly Siemens does. So यहाँ पे this is one such thing they do, like example for a pharma industry के लिए ये एक चीज वो करके देखते हैं, ठीक है? The other is, like let's say for example, now you see that Bangalore ka metro is coming up, right, from that Silk Board Junction to that airport, right? Now entire work of this, electrification work करने के लिए यहाँ पे कुछ भी technology है, these people have got the order. Similarly in Mumbai metro, similarly अगर आप aerospace division में हो, for example, right, and you have an engine, let's say from that engine you want to understand कि like, उसका air flow कैसा होता है, उसका आपका simulation करके देखना, you have to show it, right? These are the different basically projects that are there that Siemens does, ठीक है? This is a, I would say, basic example I can give you over here to like what exactly Siemens does, ठीक है? Various other technological thing they do. Now over here if you see, the most important thing पहले तो growth नहीं है, ठीक है? So why is there no growth over here, ठीक है? Because अगर आप देखते हो, you see that the sales growth that is there on this quarter versus last quarter, that is Q3 of last year, you see that the growth has, the sales has degrown by around 3%, ठीक है? Versus, if you see around probably in 2023 in those years, you see that the sales used to be around 20 to 30%. So what really happened कि like, यहाँ पे growth ही चला गया, ठीक है? There are a couple of reasons. One is obviously, like I told you, these people are working in a lot of this infra projects and everything, right? Like Bangalore metro जो मैंने बोला, right? And various other government के infra projects भी काम करते हैं, private projects में भी काम करते हैं. As you know, the first half, there was a bit of a slowdown because of elections, and monsoon season. But now what has happened, now the government spending that is there, there has been a little bit delay. There has been a delay in terms of the fund reaching the projects, and as a result, there has been a delay in terms of starting the project, the H2, especially H2 of this year, which usually you see, right, for all these big capex companies that are there, right, infra companies that are there, H2 is a very strong, very strong half year. Like Q3 and Q4 are very strong, but this time we are seeing a lot of slowdown because of these project delays. Okay, this is one of the main reasons. Okay, the second reason is unka different division hai. Okay, like digital technology, smart innovations, renewable energy. So there are multiple divisions, multiple bifurcations, if you have to tell, in terms of revenue. So one of the most important thing is the digital transformation, which is where 40% of the revenue comes from. यहाँ पे this division में especially the new orders that are there, that has degrown by 10%. ठीक है, okay, like can you imagine 40% से जहाँ से majority of the revenue आ रहा है, that segment itself has degrown, the new orders and everything has degrown by 10%. Now why has this happened? This digital transformation, they really work on all this automated, automation karna and everything. And one of the main people over here in this digital transformation is your automobile industry. ठीक है, यहाँ पे earlier what had happened कि like when we had that supply chain issue with this semiconductor, ठीक है, a lot of them had stocked up on a lot. अभी तो destocking चल रहा है in this entire semiconductor के इसके वजह से this has really impacted them because of this. ठीक है, so that is why one of the major reasons why you see यहाँ पे degrowth हो चुका है in sales, and obviously वहाँ पे infra का delay in terms of projects and everything. These are the two main reasons. Other than that, if you see उनका जो other divisions है, whether it is a renewable energy या smart innovation, they are doing really well. वहाँ पे order book का कोई problem नहीं है, revenues का कोई problem नहीं है. But especially at this such base, when your majority of the segment is not performing well, right, then it becomes a huge problem over here. ठीक है, and especially you see over here, right, ultimately अगर आप large cap हो, small cap हो, growth is king. And जब growth चला गया, you see how the market is treating in spite of it being a large cap. Whether you check Nestle, whether you check HUL, all of these companies that we discussed today, right, all the four companies that you see, at once upon a time they were doing really well, right? And the reason we created this illusion of safety over here was because they were doing really well. But you see, right, that no stock is, it's not that no stock is untouchable, like no stock is invincible over here. Every single stock is I wouldn't say stock, but every single business is prone to a problem, right? No business in this world is invincible in any way or form at the end of the day, right? And whether it is a large cap, whether it is a small cap, whether it is a mid cap. और यहाँ पे क्या हुआ है, in all of these companies there was a time where there was immense growth, and as a result they made a lot of wealth to our shareholders. And now we've come to the other end of the cycle जहाँ पे यहाँ पे growth ही नहीं है. ठीक है, whether it is like see Varun Beverages, Nestle, HUL, कितना पैसा बना के दिया है shareholders के लिए. And right now it is the same company that is destroying the wealth also at the same time, because the underlying factor is very simple, that there is no growth. ठीक है, and when you understand this concept now, the life becomes easier for you in the market. It is as simple as that. ठीक है, track the companies, understand the growth, understand growth कहाँ से आ रहे हैं, and the change in pace of growth. Once you get this, you tend to make better decisions in terms of especially in terms of market, right? And if you want to understand in depth कि like आपको growth कैसे देखते हैं, what are the different parameters you have to look at it, अगर आपको investment checklist चाहिए, so that tomorrow you can open the PPT and you know exactly what to look for, right? Get the investment checklist workshop. I'm going to put the link below, both in the description box as well as if you're watching on Twitter, then it would be in the below tweet, right? And use this week, use the weekends, so tomorrow when such opportunity comes, when the next Varun Beverages comes under your radar, you can buy it, right? And also continue to track it and know when to buy, when to sell, and how do you entirely track this, track the businesses. Okay, so that's that for today's video. I'll see you again in another video. Until then, bye.